Good afternoon. Here is the national news from VGI TV, Babagide Imo TV. I am Morire Repila Lawal. First are the major headlines for the national news. FG orders VCs to reopen varsities, commence lecture. End ASUU strike now, Kano president tells FG. Nigeria military killing unharmed Ijaw people under the guise of hunting oil tips, Ijaw Youths Congress alleges. And travelers panic as kidnappers take charge of Gùnm federal highways. Gunmen killed 2 traders in Kano. And on sports, Super Eagles storm Iran today for Algeria clash. Now the news in detail. The federal government, through the National Universities Commission, has ordered vice chancellors to reopen schools and allow students to resume lectures. This was made known in a letter signed by the Director of Finance and Accounts of the NUC, Sam Onazi, on behalf of the Executive Secretary of the Commission, Professor Abubakar Rashid. The letter, which was made exclusively available to the Punch on Monday, was addressed to all vice chancellors, pro-chancellors, and chairmen of governing councils of federal universities. Ensure that ASUU members immediately resume and commence lectures, restore the daily activities and routines of the various universities campuses, the letter partly reads. The Punch report that the National Industrial Corps of Nigeria on Wednesday ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities to call off its ongoing nationwide strike. ASUU had been on strike since February 14 to press on the demand for improved funding for universities, a review of salaries for lecturers, among other issues. Several meetings between ASUU and the federal government have ended in deadlock. Consequently, the federal government went to court to challenge the strike. The government, through its counsel, James Igwe, praised the court for an interlocutory injunction restraining ASUU from taking further steps as regards the strike, pending the determination of the substantive units. Moving on to the next story, still on the strike. The president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Dr. Daniel Oko, on Sunday urged the federal government and the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to end the 7-month-old strike. Oko made appeal in his address during the interdenominational church service to mark the 62nd Independence Day at the National Ecumenical Center, Abuja. I call on the federal government to do all that is necessary so that most of these youth will go back to the universities and engage with their studies. As it is often said that idle minds are the devil's workshop, idle lips are also the mouthpiece, he said. Describing next year's elections as one of Nigeria's greatest tests, Oko urged citizens of voting age to obtain the permanent voter's card. He heard that politicians who hand out inducement to the electorate did not care for the nation or our people as they disappear afterwards. Moving to the next story as regards the killing ongoing in Delta State. The leadership of the umbrella body of Ijaw Youth in the Niger Delta region, Ijaw Youths Congress IYC, worldwide has condemned the Nigerian military's invasion and alleged genocide against Ijaw communities under the guise of hunting for oil thieves in the region. The group accused the military of killing and maiming innocent and harmless children, men and women, as well as the elderly, under the pretense of going after unrepentant militants and oil thieves. Speaking in a press conference over the weekend at Ijaw House, Yenagwa, the national spokesman for Ijaw Youth Council, IYC, Comrade Ebilade Ekerife, said the military operation, which they had tagged the Python dance, at a point is visiting heinous genocide and decimation on armed, defenseless, and hapless Ijaw communities. We want to place it on record that Nigeria's Joint Task Force JTF has in the past 15 years decimated our defenseless population in more than 80 Ijaw villages, towns, and cities. And to the next story. Travelers as well as residents of Ogun State have expressed worries over the rates at which kidnappers will lay drivers and take into custody helpless road users along the major highways in the state. Daily Post report that the federal roads like Lagos-Ibadan Highway, Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, and Lafenwa-Ayetoro-Imeko Road are becoming dreadful to road users. Kidnapping has become more or less a lucrative business in Nigeria as some individuals abduct people in exchange for money. In Ogun State, millions of naira has been paid in money to kidnappers whose stock in trade is to pick up unsuspecting travelers in exchange for money. Unfortunately, these abductors are no respecter of any person, as they have on different occasions taken policemen and other security agents into their custodies. Severally, foreign nationals working on farms and construction sites were captured and released after the payment of cash. Some security men were killed while trying to prevent the abduction of those they were meant to look after. Lately, it appears that the kidnappers are becoming resistant to all the strategies put in place by the police and other security agents in the state, as they now operate in broad daylight on busy roads within the states. Still on the national news from BGI TV, fresh fear has enveloped the Savangari area of metropolitan part of Kano State following the killing of two Igbo traders by some yet to be identified gunmen. The deceased are Ifeanyi Elechuku, age 41, and probably was the target of the attack, and his friend Chibule Emmanuel, who was shot on the leg but eventually gave up the ghost at a private clinic, international clinic in the state capital. The incident, according to witnesses, occurred at about 8:50 p.m. Saturday night after the deceased, who was a battery dealer at shop number 25 Court Road by New Road, was said to have been invited to the shop by his assailant, who posed as a customer. While the two deceased people were shot at close range along Court Road by Niger Road in Savangari, the gunmen, who appeared to have trailed them to the spot, sped off immediately after the attack. When Daily Sun arrived at the spot, the whole scene was condoned off by different security personnel, while a huge gridlock had cycled around the intervening roads, forcing motorists to divert to other routes. The Public Relations Officer, Nigeria Police Force Kano State SP Abdullahi Aruna Kiyawa, confirmed the death of the two traders and disclosed that the police had commenced full investigation into the tragic incident. In the meantime, the gun attack has further triggered off security concerns in the state, as many places of worship were manned by heavily security presence during the services that happened yesterday. Moving on to the next story, which concludes the national news. The Super Eagles will hit Iran today ahead of Tuesday's international friendly against the Desert Foxes of Algeria. The West Africans pitched tent in Constantine last week Monday when it took on Algeria's own base side in a test game last Friday. The game at the Mohamed Amilo Stadium ended in a 2-2 draw with Alex Iwobi and Cyril Desert on target for the Super Eagles. Josep Pesero's side held their last training session in Constantine on Sunday night. 22 players are now available for selection after assistant captain William Troost Ekong was forced to leave camp on Saturday as a result of injury. Wilfred Ndidi, a midfielder, returned to his club early last week after picking up an injury in training. The Super Eagles have lost their last two games against Algeria. The game will kick off at 8 p.m. Nigerian time. That was the national news from BGI TV. Before we go, some major headlines. FG orders VCs to reopen varsities, commence lectures. End ASUU strike now, Khan president tells FG. We also brought to you Nigerian military killing unharmed Ijaw people under the guise of haunting oil tips. And on sports, Super Eagles storm Iran today for Algeria clash. For more updates on YouTube, our handle is Babagede Imo TV. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Alawiye Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. On Instagram, Bagede Imo_22. For advertisements of your goods and services, coverage of events and function, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen for advert placements only. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rebila Lawal. Good afternoon.